All right.
I have a simple thing.
Sure, no problem.
My iPad and my phone used to be more connected, and by this I mean when I got a text message on my phone, I would get it on my iPad.
Yep.
I don't know why I don't get it now, so I went to settings, but I'm not sure what to do.
Right. So the question is that the iPhone and iPad used to get the same messages. Now they don't anymore.
Yeah, I wonder if
that is a setting.
Upgrade or something.
Probably there was an update that changed the setting.
Yeah.
So on the iPad, and let me bring the iPad window up here. You'll go into the Settings app.
Okay, on my iPad.
Yep.
Settings. Okay.
And I gotta remember where it is. Hiding in there somewhere.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, no, I don't need you. So I want to get the... Oh, no, I don't need you. So our internet stream now, there we are. Now I've got the iPad on the screen. So under settings, and I think it's messages somewhere. Yep, there we are. Messages on the left.
Yep.
And then on the right, under send and receive.
Send and receive. It says 3 addresses. Okay.
And you want to make sure your phone number is checked in that area.
So go to, yeah, my phone number is checked.
And also...
it says, wait, I just got log in. Welcome to the JCC. Accept and continue.
Yeah, that's the JCC website.
Just wait
yep.
for a few seconds. Okay, I'm doing it. Okay.
So you want to make sure that your phone number is
I
checked.
have to go back to settings.
Yep.
Okay. My phone number is checked.
And your Apple ID is checked. And you want to make sure it's the same Apple ID that is on your phone. So at the top of the list.
Apple ID, yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
And then on the phone, go to the same place.
On your phone.
On my phone.
Yeah, and you want to be sure that's checked too.
So we'll bring the phone up to the screen.
Okay, and I should go to phone now. Yep.
And then settings.
Okay, phone, and then, okay, my number's at the top.
And messages. And on the phone, there's a setting called text message forwarding. And you need to make sure that your iPad is listed there.
Okay, I went to settings, and I went to phone.
No, messages.
Messages. Okay. Text message forwarding. Okay,
Yep.
I see that. Go to it.
And you want to make sure that your phone, your iPad is turned on.
So just do that.
Yep.
Okay, that's it.
So
now text messaging forward.
Yeah.
Enter
So
the
by
code shown on your iPad to allow.
Yep. So it's displaying a code on your iPad to prove that that's really you and really your iPad that you want the messages to go to.
Enter the code. Okay.
Yep.
So enter my code.
So text messages.
Let me just enter my code.
Sure.
8775. Okay.
So that's a one-time code.
And then okay, allow.
Yep. And then you'll get the green slider there.
Okay.
If you have a computer, or in my case, I've got a computer and an iPod, you can choose which devices you want to get those messages.
Okay.
So you may not want them all, but you have the two you do. Yep. Okay. And the reason you have to do that is because text messages can only go through a cell phone.
Okay. I understand.
And so the iPad's not a cell phone. So your phone is actually going to forward it to your Apple ID. And then the message goes to your iPad from your Apple ID.
Okay.
Now, what if you set up the iPad with a phone, which I know you can do?
You can't set it up with a phone. You can set it up with an internet voice messaging service. So you can use something like Skype or Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
That's technically not a phone. It's called voice over internet.
Yeah. I have it set. My phone, my iPad, I get the messages. But
Yep.
on my iMac, every now and then, under messaging, I'll get something, and I'll say, what in the heck is that?
Yep.
Well, I don't get anything. I think I can do FaceTime.
Yep.
But I don't.
So FaceTime is an Apple service.
Yeah.
So it will work between Apple devices, the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac. Text messaging is a cellular service, so it works between any phone company.
Right.
The trick is if you want to see your text messages on your iPad, it has to translate between cellular messages and computer messages. And so that's what that setting allows you to do.
Yep.
Okay, good. So when you look at a message, so I've got a message up there,
Yep.
the green bubbles
Yeah.
mean that it's a cellular text message.
I get it. Okay.
And that person doesn't have an Apple device.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you can shame them.
I get it.
The blue bubbles,
says it's Apple.
it's an Apple device.
Okay.
So you can shame them into buying an Apple device.
We've seen that happen.
Yep.
Okay,
You're
I'm
all set.
done. Thank you.
You're all set.
That
Now,
was- I
my
knew it
problem,
was-
it's not really a problem.
Okay, I'm moving.
I can't always get a ring or a beep on either device.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing my wife has been thinking, I have hearing aids, and I have them through Bluetooth.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you called me right now on the phone, I would get it right in my ears, and it might ring on my phone. And she thinks that maybe there's a blockage there of whatever sounds.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone into the settings and tried to figure it out. I certainly can't.
One of the tricks with Bluetooth is that it can only be connected to one device at a time.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
So if you connect a Bluetooth to your hearing aids, then the sound won't play through your phone.
Got it. That solves my problem.
Which is a bit annoying.
Yeah.
It
Now,
would be nice if it played through
if
both.
I shut the Bluetooth off,
Then it goes back to the
it
phone.
goes back to the phone, but
Yeah.
then I've lost the ability in my hearing aids. Okay.
Vibrate.
Yeah, you put your phone on mute, so then the phone will. Well, I don't know if you mute the phone if the headphones would still ring.
No, that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. So your phone will vibrate to let you know.
So if I put it on mute,
Mute or turn the volume off completely.
yeah.
I'm too far away from my Bluetooth speakers.
Okay, so I've got my Bluetooth is on.
Yeah, and so if you slide the little slidey switch on the side.
Oh yeah. Okay, I got it. Right
Yep.
here, yeah.
So
Okay.
now the ringer is silent and it will vibrate. When
When I
instead
get
of
anything.
ringing, it will vibrate, and you may be able to hear that better than seeing it on the
Very good.
in earphones. Yeah.
So I don't, I have the ability to do the hearing aids here, but my Bluetooth is off on this.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't get. Well, I do. I can hear. I can get sound on this.
Yeah, it's got speakers built into the
Yeah,
iPad.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now on the phone, if you swipe up from the bottom, you get the control
Oh,
strip.
like this.
Yeah, you get the control strip. Now swipe to the right
To the right.
or to the left. There you go. So now at the bottom there, it's showing you what device the audio is going to.
My hearing aids.
And if you tap that,
This.
yeah, then you can send the audio to the phone instead of the hearing aid.
Oh.
But it's one or the other. It's
Yeah,
not
okay,
both.
Okay, so I know what I can do then.
Yep.
Okay, great.
What about text messaging? So he gets an alert.
Yeah, well, text messaging would be the same thing. How that beeps.
Yeah, that would be the beep on the phone. It would either come to the phone or to the hearing aids.
All right. You got to
But
sacrifice.
when it's on vibrate,
Yeah.
you'll get a vibration when
Alright.
there's a text message.
You got to sacrifice.
And in fact, there's a neat option. Where do they put it? There's some customized rings. So it will give you a different vibrate pattern depending on who's sending you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I find that in settings.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I just got to find where it is.
Sounds, maybe? No, maybe not.
Yes.
It isn't sounds?
Sounds and then vibrate on ring. Oh, that we want to be on silent or on. So, yeah. So vibrate on ring, vibrate on silent. So you can. So it'll vibrate either way.
Mm-hmm.
And then is it under ringtone? Yeah. So under ringtone,
Oh, I see.
you have a vibration.
Yeah.
So right now it's set to the default vibration
Right.
pattern.
And
you can change that vibration
to
pattern.
any of these.
Yep.
I think I'll do it chimes and see what happens.
Then you'll be able to feel what the vibration feels like. It should give you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
you can feel the vibration.
Yeah.
And when you're doing in your contact, how was it? Contacts, I think. You can assign a custom vibration to each contact. So when your wife calls, it vibrates one way.
Right, and
when someone else calls, it vibrates a different
I
way.
got it.
Let me see if I can find where that is.
I'm going to pass on that
I
one.
want to see how you do it.
Oh, well.
Yeah, let me find where the.
Well, there's a.
It's under customized ringing. No, it's not
How
custom
many
colors.
different rings can you have?
There are a bunch of rings built in, and you can make a custom one too. So if I go to vibration, there's it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you can create custom ones. So 6 built in. And that's custom rings. Where do you
It says
assign?
custom vibration.
Yeah, you can make a custom vibration.
Okay.
I'm looking for the setting for customized answering. Calendar, ring, keyboard. When in doubt, we'll check with Google.
Yep.
Is my friend and colleague Bob Taylor involved in Apple Cider anymore?
He semi-retired from the club.
Yeah,
He's been in for so long. When he retired from school,
right.
he comes around every now and then.
He and I worked together at,
Yep.
At a TID.
No, were you in ROTC?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I went to Roberts Wesleyan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, custom vibration. Yeah, it is in the Contacts app, which I don't use very often, so I never remember where it is. So in Contacts, at the bottom of the screen,
See, you're a JS 90.1 fan also.
we do a computer show on the radio station
yeah,
too.
Sure,
Yep,
I've heard it.
yep,
I've
just
heard
came down from there.
it. I've heard it. I've been a member for quite a few years.
All right, phone, contacts, okay. Pick your contact. Maybe I'll do my wife.
Where did it say pick your contact?
Oh, it doesn't say, but just pick the contact from the list that you want to change.
Oh, okay,
Then tap the edit button in the upper right. And ringtone, there it is. So you can change the ringtone. So you can make a custom ring and you can make a custom vibration
So now you know
for
if
that person.
If she calls you, you're going to know it's her because of that ring.
Right. So it's especially handy. Your phone's on silent. You're somewhere, and you can feel it vibrating in your pocket.
That's the thing. I'm playing golf, and I know somebody's calling me or somebody is sending a text, and I don't feel anything because now I will.
Now you will, because we
Yeah.
turned that vibration on. Yeah.
That's terrific.
So what you need to get is an Apple Watch. Then you can see who's calling you and who's texting you from the watch.
Nope.
Yeah, they joke about you get an Apple Watch so you don't have to take the phone out of your pocket so much.
Yeah.
You get a phone so you don't have to carry your iPad so much. You get an iPad so you don't have to use your laptop so much.
I know. Well, it was actually Bob Taylor that got me into Apple completely. I mean, he got our whole department into it.
Yep.
Very few of us do or did PC.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody would come around and say, "Why don't you guys switch to PC because it's less expensive?" We'd go, we don't want to do that."
We always used to say they might be less expensive. There might be cheaper models, but an equivalent model will cost the same. And you end up paying more in service costs than you do on a Mac. So the cost of ownership was always
Yeah.
lower.
Wow. Well,
You're
terrific.
so
Steve,
helpful.
thanks
Yep,
very much.
you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
So much better than waiting at the Apple store.
Yeah.
Because of simple little things.
Yep.
Thank you.
And then call our radio show
Yeah, that's it.
Saturdays at noon
And,
on 90.1 FM.
And how often are you here?
every week.
No, here is, it's tricky. It's the first Saturday after the second Wednesday.
Goodbye.
So the second Wednesday is our general club meeting, and then the Saturday following that is here.
Got it.
It's in the JCC calendar.
And it
There's
comes
a
up.
list up on the
Sure.
bulletin board.
And the JCC sends out notices
Yeah,
as
they-
well.
Yeah,
Okay.
the next one is like, it's like the 14th or so of
Yeah.
the month. Like right here, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, October 14th.
October 14th,
November
November
11th. Okay.
So,
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Well, it was very helpful. It was simple for us, but very helpful.
That's what we hope for. That's interesting. I'm having trouble getting to websites. Let me see if my streamer is still working.
hello.
Hi there.
Hi, I just
Come on in.
wanted to see what's here. It's a library.
It's a library, but it's also where Tech Age is
Courses.
housed. Yeah, we teach computer courses, and if you
Yeah.
have an Apple product, this is an Apple guru right here.
Groove here.
Doesn't he look like a guru?
It's
Absolutely. Absolutely.
getting close
And
for.
he's here once a month on a Saturday.
We
On
do
Saturday.
answering questions and giving help and things like that. Yep.
But for Apple.
Is it a course kind of thing? Which
Not really. It's sort of a free flow. Ask your questions.
Saturday?
Yep.
When?
It's the first Saturday after the second Wednesday. There's a calendar on the wall. Hey, Joel.
Calendar here.
Good to see you moving around.
It just tells,
Amazing.
Yeah.
right here it says, you have an Apple,
Yesterday was
an
3
iPad
weeks
or an iPhone,
After
or
an
an Mac.
total hip replacement.
Yeah.
And we do teach classes too.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Did you
They have a new technique.
You're bionic now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got one by the old technique and one by the new technique. So they go in from the front. They don't got through as much muscle.
Mm-hmm.
The end of May. At the end of wrong.
Wow.
Then we have classes
They
that
put a
run May,
bandage
June,
on with no
and then
stitches or.
July, August. Are you on our
staples.
mailing
Yeah.
list?
Let it dissolve.
Could be, but I. No, they pulled it off yesterday.
Ah.
Because I.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So quite a day, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I sent out publicity.
One of the last nice weekends of the
Here's one of our
summer, I
brochures.
think.
What is your name?
My name
I
is
sent out
Carol. I
publicity on
usually-
Tuesday, so.
And if
Got
you
the
give me
word
your
out.
name,
Yep.
I'll put you on our.
Nice.
I just stopped by to hit the track.
Yeah.
What,
Stopped,
you know
stopped
that
in to
guy's
say
in the
hello,
picture?
see how you're doing.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I had my gallbladder surgery, they had
Oh, your
me
name is Saul.
up and moving in a couple hours.
Yeah.
M-A-R-S-H?
Yeah.
And what's your?
I was out of bed the afternoon of the surgery,
1-5.
walking up and down the
Clonamara.
halls,
I got to
and home 30 hours after.
C-O-N-E-E-M-A-R-E.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I used a walker like the
Drive,
first week,
Pittsburgh,
and after that I didn't need it.
453-4.
You
It's
have
an
an email?
Irish.
Wow.
You have an email address you
Yeah.
use?
Oh, who?
Email.
Email.
So,
Marsh.
have you met Helen Newman, short person? who
Yes. Yep.
helps me run this place?
Mhm.
So she's ready for her Watch 3
Yeah.
and Phone X.
She's gonna get the 8 or wait for the 10.
She's going to get the 10.
Yeah. What was
Yeah.
that? There's a really cute comic in The Joy of Tech.
916.
Where did I put it?
Yeah.
That was an early one. Here we go. Can I get it to fit on the screen? There we are. So the new member of the family, iPhone 10.
6, 7, 8, 10.
And
I can
poor,
read it from
poor
here.
9 got left out.
Yeah.
October?
9, 8,
Yeah,
10.
so
17.
write down all your questions before you
So
leave
8.
and ask them so that you'll
7,
be
8,
in the
9.
know when
Yeah.
you're in Florida.
Yeah, they skipped 9, just like Windows skipped 9. It went
Right.
from 8 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
I usually have gone.
And then OS X brought his X with him.
Well, also, we have,
Yeah.
we have between noon and 2,
So Helen walks her dogs a
we
lot,
have
so she said it'd be
Windows
nice to
help.
be able
Well,
to
wait a minute, we have iPad and iPhone.
just go
help.
out with her watch.
Tuesdays,
Yeah,
Thursdays,
not have to carry the
Fridays,
phone, yeah.
Mhm.
Noon till
Yeah.
2.
Whereas
Tuesday, Thursday,
wherever
Friday.
I go, I've got my watch and my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So But $10 isn't that big a deal.
Well, it's. I heard an interesting analogy. It's a little annoying. They're paying you you have to pay just for the device
Right.
without any extra data. It's like he said. It's like the you order a pizza and it's $10.
Right.
If you want your wife to have some of it, it's another $10.
Yeah, I heard you say
If you
that.
if you want your kids to have, it's another $10. No, that's not supposed to be how it works.
No, really. But I mean, it could be a lot worse.
Yes.
$10 people can
Depends
afford.
on
I
your
was thinking to say, well, I figured before I heard you on the
I'm
show
gonna put you on the mailing list,
that they'd
Saul.
probably hit you for $20 or something.
Yeah.
And,
That wouldn't be
Carol,
worth it.
you'll probably get a mailing.
And it's the same thing with you. If you have a cellular iPad, most of the carriers are not $10 a
Another
month.
$10,
We
yeah.
send
Yeah.
a brochure out in December,
Mhm.
and then another one comes out in April,
When we
so.
got Dottie,
And
my
then
wife's
you'll be on
iPhone,
Joel's
they had the deal
email list too,
like
so you'll get, he
$100
doesn't send too
and then
many,
$10 a month for the
Yep.
Wi-Fi iPad Mini,
All right,
and so we did
no
that.
questions today
Even
though,
though we rarely use the data service.
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, that's what they're
Write it
hoping, that you'll
down.
pay for it and not use
Pay
it.
for it.
Maybe I do.
I
have a
pay for it in my
question
car.
about this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, now so many cars have wireless hotspots, and yeah.
Mhm. So when we're traveling, it's really amazing because she'll get on her iPad and I can just turn on the music and go.
Yep.
You know, usually she says, "Oh, when are we going to stop? How long till we get there?" Now she's amused.
Now they don't care. Yeah, the kids in the back seat can just play games or watch movies. Yeah.
So you guys won't be able to sell phones or watches.
We don't. Every now and then we think about it. We could if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems is there's too many models. We have a hard enough time with the 50 different models of iPad.
Mhm.
There's 4 sizes, 3 capacities, 4 colors,
Different carriers.
different carriers. Yeah, so there's 50 models you got to stock.
Yeah.
And so the iPhone would be the same thing. And now what's a little interesting with the iPhone is they kept the SE and the 6S,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 7 and the 8 and the 10. So they can say iPhone's starting at $349.
Yeah.
In fact, we were talking about that earlier. And it's just too many of them to carry. And we don't like the way the contracts have worked in the past. iPhone. And we used to be cell phone dealers. We were Verizon dealers. And things have changed a bit, but not much. So we would buy a new phone. The Motorola Q was sort of the hot phone for a long time. It was $800 for a phone. People complaining that the iPhone 10 is $1,000. That's what premium phones cost.
Mhm.
The Samsung, the Note 8 is pushing $1,000. The Galaxy 8 is pushing $1,000. So we'd have to pay $800 for the phone. We'd have to sell it for $200 with contract.
Yeah.
And Verizon would eventually pay us the difference.
Eventually.
And that eventually got longer and longer and longer.
Mhm.
And then it would it like past 30 days, and they say, "Oh, that was last month. We can't do anything about it now." You never paid us last month.
Yeah.
So it was a losing money proposition. And how they try to hook you is that when the customer renews their contract, you get paid again.
Mhm.
They never did that either.
Jeez, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Sir, did you have a question?
I have a question.
Sure.
If this is a couple of years old, this one,
Mm-hmm.
and the red comes on and off, quick, like it's out of juice. I get an orange first with some warning, I guess.
Oh, the battery warning? Yep.
And then this is red. Is it? Should I take it, dump it? Or?
I can run a battery test on it right now.
Really?
And we can see if the battery needs replaced. It's about $100 to replace the battery,
Oh, it's better than.
which is better than a new phone. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm not an expert, but I want to see you become an expert.
I'll tell you, if you ever have taken one of those apart, it's worth $100.
Yeah.
Something-
Well, and that's where we hate Apple. It takes like an hour to do this.
Yeah.
Plus the cost of the battery that we have to pay for. We lose money on it,
Yeah.
but we have to do it because we're an Apple dealer.
Oh, you're in. Okay.
Yeah, I work for an Apple dealer, so that we also sell and service all the Apple products and do training. So we
Hi, Carol.
How are you, Joel?
Amazing.
I don't really like to go to Verizon, so
No pain pills anymore?
sometimes going to the carrier store can
So
be
cool.
Mm-hmm.
a little faster than going to Apple
Oh, yeah.
because there's so many,
my wife.
there's always so many lines.
So, you know, he was thinking, because he
The
hadn't
end.
been doing anything
Mhm.
either for, I mean, he was amazed that, like,
P
he really couldn't even, he
D.
wouldn't have been able to walk one side
No.
of the track.
All right, don't want to show this on
And you
YouTube,
were walking around the track.
so I'm gonna turn
He
that
couldn't
off
walk, like,
temporarily.
5 houses down without wanting to
Wow.
turn around before the surgery. I mean, he just didn't want to do, you know.
Sure. He was in a lot of pain.
Well, yeah, he didn't, yeah, and so you're.
All right, now I'll put your serial number in.
I'm pretty
D
flexible,
N
but still a
R
little
P
sore.
D
If I do a lot, you know, I think
T B
physical therapist
V
is giving me
G
incredible
5
material.
M
Every time she
C.
comes, she piles it on, because apparently I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
So she gives me more and more exercises. So my range of motion is really pretty good.
All right, it's an iPhone 6,
Just sore
purchased in April of 2015.
and getting better, but like
Yep.
some days if I had a lot of activity.
So it's 2.5 years old.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like
That is a little early for the battery to fail, but it's
Can
possible.
you,
But let's run a battery
so
test.
Can you not take like ibuprofen or something?
Well, they said Tylenol. I'm not supposed to take NSAIDs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because Dave isn't either, but.
Mm-hmm.
and-
But it's not like it's really bad.
Yeah.
It's,
It's just
sort
that
of
you
a
know
nu-
you have a hip.
it's a nuisance. I know I've got a hip, and I know it's it's healing.
But so that's, are you 3 weeks?
Yesterday was 3 weeks.
In fact, you're down to 12% battery now.
Which means?
It's low now, yeah.
Yeah. So, is Dave getting out and doing exercise?
Oh, yeah,
Would
well,
it
you know what,
affect
'cause
it now? Even if it's
They.
It doesn't affect the performance
anything
of the
therapist
phone.
gave
It
him
just
at home to do, I mean, he was fine. And
it's how much
forget
more
about
time
it.
you've got to
Yeah,
use
they
it before the
did
battery
exercises.
dies.
They were like no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then she signed off on him like after 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And well, now he's going to physical therapy at Lattimore,
Uh-huh.
and he's getting a workout there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
You know, and he says she's always giving him harder things. She wants to see him like 2 more times, but he's finally feeling good.
Yeah. Well, the nurse discharged me yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and physical therapist said she'd come back 2 more times, and then I'd be done.
But you're not wearing those white things you're supposed to wear
No,
for 6 weeks.
not wearing a white thing. I have good circulation. I don't think there's much chance that
I made Dave. He did wear his quite a bit. Well, I think when he's at 3 weeks, I think he maybe stopped.
Yeah.
They said there wasn't any swelling. Or anything.
There is a software update for it.
I talked to the nurse last week and asked her about the stock, and she said, well, maybe in your 4th week. Well, this is the 4th week, right?
Yeah. Well, Dave, he was like, but he wore them
Yes.
for a good long time, and
Uh-huh.
then he just kind of
That's
gave up
something I
the
can do
cane
myself.
Yep.
again. Like this week, he's not using it, but I borrowed it from Brighton Ambulance or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and he goes, don't return it yet though, because we had borrowed a walker from my brother, so we had one upstairs and one downstairs.
That's what I did, yeah.
And then we returned the one to my brother because Dave was feeling so good right after that. He could have, I could carry it up and down, no big deal,
Yeah.
but Dave doesn't run up and down the stairs as much as I do.
But I had 2 walkers too, and I just took them back to Pittsburgh Ambulance.
Oh, did you?
2 walkers and a cane.
Yeah, I got to take the one back.
Okay, now we're on Wi-Fi. Let's
'Cause he
see.
had it, and then for a month, and then I called and said, can we keep it for another month?
It's funny, I just dropped, on the way over here, I dropped the cane and walkers off.
It's a 6, isn't it?
Yes.
Hip replaced, Interior,
So, well,
yeah.
it's now 3 generations
I had
old.
mine done 12 months ago.
But it still
Who
works.
did hers, I wonder.
Drink water. There are only 2 guys apparently that are doing
I always like my flip phone.
Who's that?
interior.
Yep.
Drink water, and I can't remember the name of the other guy.
Drink water did my wife's.
Is it a guy? I thought it was like, I thought there was a woman named Souls. Or
Souls,
He's
yeah.
a good guy.
That's a woman, I guess.
Okay, I remember the name Souls.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. He does.
His son is a very good percussionist.
Oh yeah.
Because my grandson played in the same band.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, he's very good.
Who's a good percussionist?
Drinkwater's son.
Drinkwater's-
Oh, Drinkwater's son.
Wait, Drinkwater's not could be his grandson. No,
No,
son.
he's young, isn't
Son,
he?
he's young.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drinkwater.
How long ago did your wife have her hip done?
At least 3 years.
Years. Did she have the interior in the front?
Her scar is on the side.
Oh.
Okay, that's posterior.
Okay.
I had my right hip done 4 years ago by Drinkwater, and he did the posterior, and that's a longer recovery. The interior is amazing. You know, you're out of bed the day of surgery and home the next day.
Dave was home the next day, though.
Yeah,
That's a hit.
Oh, yeah.
that's a hip. Yeah.
Actually, the knees you're home like at least 2 days lately,
Mhm.
it seems.
You know what I have in Florida? There's a lot of people up here who don't agree with it. I had this PRP injection in my ankle. And what it is, they centrifuge blood and fat from the side.
Mm-hmm.
And they inject it back into where they should inject it.
Yeah.
And I told my doctor up here, he said, yeah. And it worked. It worked for a year, a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Pain went away.
Wow,
I said, that's pretty good.
that's pretty amazing.
So
Yeah.
I'm going back and do the other end. See what
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
so that these things that are coming are coming. It
Steve.
doesn't.
Don't get old, Steve.
Sort of. Yeah. The president of, oh, I don't have it up there. Oh, it is up there. The president of our model RC club is Wayne Drinkwater.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he's related.
It's
It's an unusual enough
It
name.
is an uncommon name.
Yeah.
And everybody hears the name and they just think, you know.
Chief, maybe he's a chief drink
Could be.
medicine man.
Yep. Let me go back a page.
So
Some of the planes they fly. So your phone passes all the tests, but it's dropped from 12 to 9 in the few minutes I've been here working on it.
oh, you really screwed
And it feels like there's something wrong with it, even though it passed the battery test. It's only about half its rated battery life. It's got about 450 battery charge cycles on it.
You know what my wife would say? Get a new one.
Yeah.
Thanks. So okay.
So yeah, it wouldn't.
Thank you.
Can you turn the screen off on those like you can on?
You can turn the brightness down. There are energy-saving tips you can
Oh, yeah,
do.
yeah.
I know.
Turn the brightness down. Turn Bluetooth off. Turn.
How come the brightness goes off every once in a while? More quickly than it used to. And I just hit it and it comes back on again.
That's part of what's called the auto lock or the sleep function. If you don't do anything for a few minutes, it dims the screen. And then if you keep not doing something, it blacks the screen out to help save the battery life.
So how do you block it out? How do you?
We can raise the auto lock feature. Auto lock, there we are. So it does. So right now it's set to 3 minutes. So the longer it is, the longer the screen will stay on.
Yeah.
But then the shorter your battery life is because it
Right.
keeps lighting up the screen. You can also dim the screen a little bit so it's not at full brightness all the time,
Yeah.
and that can help save the battery life.
That I would do. Yeah.
Mhm. What carrier do you use for phone?
Verizon.
Verizon? Are they selling 8s yet?
Pre-order still.
Pre-order, taking
Yeah.
pre-orders for 8s?
Yeah, they don't go on sale until next Friday.
Mhm. So you can go over to the Verizon store and order an iPhone 8.
What do I need a phone? That's a It's the
Couldn't
camera.
I thought
couldn't
you
he
wanted
order
to
the,
I thought you wanted to get rid of this one,
Well, my wife.
your wife.
couldn't he
yeah,
order
was-
one, a current model and have it even cheaper than buying?
Well, yeah, so this is the 6. You can get a 6S, which is the next model after this one. You can still get a 6S new for, let me bring it up here, starting at $449 outright or $20 a month. So that would be one model generation newer. Or you could get the 7, which is 2 generations newer. And let's see what that one starts at. So $549. Or you can get the 8, which is the brand new, and they just announced, and that's let me guess, $649. I like the 8 logo they used. It's the same one they used with macOS 8
Yeah.
when that originally came out. The big curvy 8.
Yeah.
Well, you get a better camera, of course.
Yeah, better camera, better screen. You know, brighter screen.
Bigger
The screen size is the same.
over there.
There's the Plus models that come with a bigger screen, but then the phone is bigger. What is kind of neat is the iPhone 10, which is coming later this fall.
Yeah.
The phone isn't much bigger than this, but the screen is a lot bigger because there's no bezels at the top and bottom anymore. So the screen fills the entire face of the phone. So you get a much bigger screen
That's a
without having a bigger phone.
great.
But unfortunately, that starts at $999.
Only money.
Yeah,
Summertime.
yeah.
It's a lot of money for a phone. I don't use my own.
So yeah, a lot of people.
Thank you very much.
Yep. It's a lot of money for a phone, but it's a pocket computer
Mhm.
more than a phone. And we joke
Well,
how few people actually use it for phone calls
right.
compared to web surfing and messaging and Facebook and email and everything else. If you,
Facebook to me is, excuse me, it's a pain.
yeah, it's
It really is.
my son doesn't use it, but his sister does, who's older.
Mhm.
And so we see these. It's almost generational.
I have a cousin that's in a new writing book business, and she constantly sends me Facebook. You gotta come to Florida and see me. Then
Yeah.
I said, do me a favor, without being kind of direct, too direct. I don't like to use Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Please just email me.
For a lot of what we call normal, average people, Facebook is all they use.
Mhm.
And so we used to say a business had to have a web page, and you had to have an email list. And now more and more businesses have gone to Facebook. Sometimes as their only internet presence, sometimes just to feed their website.
I'm angry at them. Besides, what I just said is that I don't know why I didn't buy their stock when
Yeah.
I got 40. So that's why.
Yeah.
But I should be.
If we could all pick the next gazillion-dollar stock tip.
A lot of people have made a lot of money off of those.
And I said I should have. That's the problem.
Yep.
No, should have. At the time. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Look back.
Yep.
And don't forget, we've got really good classes here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
did you
right.
take that? You got the
No,
brochure,
you're
right?
right.
Work here, too.
I
He's
want
the
the
head
program.
honcho.
I'm the-
Yeah, the program.
I'm the coordinator. Yeah. So,
I just sent you his email address.
his email address is in our messages.
He's
Did
on
you
our
check it out
mailing
for
list.
Joel?
That's me. That's me. Okay. Take care, sir.
Bye-bye. Saul.
Saul,
Marsh.
Saul, I'm Joel.
Joel, okay. Oh, you're Joel.
I'm
I
Joel.
thought he was Joel.
No,
He's
that's
Steve.
Steve.
I'm Steve.
Jeez. That's Carol.
Steve's the guy who knows stuff.
Okay.
Take it
There
easy.
are-
Thanks for coming
Thank you.
in.
Yep. There are stories about people that sold their Apple stock too soon, or the market was going to crash. Even Ron Wayne, the third founder of Apple that everyone forgot about, he was the old guy. He was 40 when Steve and Steve were 20, and like a month or two after they founded Apple, using his money. So it was their ideas and his money. He was really nervous about it, and let them buy him out for $100 grand. And so he had 48% of the stock,
Well,
and lost out on $100 billion.
can you imagine? Oh boy. Well, I hear the track calling, so take care,
is that what you're
folks.
paying
Yep.
for? Did you work?
It was $800 he cashed out for.
$800.
$800
Oh my God.
was his investment in Apple, and he was the business smarts guy, basically.
Mhm.
Steve went to how do we form a company? What do we do about all this type of stuff? And
Amazing.
yep, and now he's
So he had business smarts, but he was just a little bit short.
well, in 1976, it was too early in the game to know what was going on. Yeah, he was in there for it. So 12 days later, for a 10% stake. So Apple's worth nearly $1 trillion if you had 10% of that.
Well, I can remember thinking when I got my first Macintosh and had like Microsoft Excel and Word.
Yep.
I can remember thinking this Microsoft company, I think it's going to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do anything about it?
Didn't do anything about it, you know. But I remember thinking back, hey, this stuff is pretty cool. You know, I was amazed at Word and Excel.
Yep.
But didn't
Well, the
take-
problem is for every company that hits like that, there's hundreds that don't.
Yeah. You know, could have brought Word Perfect or something.
Yep.
You know.
I remember reading about it was some company. There was a merger between two giant companies, and the one company's stock symbol was like ABC, but their name was different enough, so people ended up buying $1 zillion of this stock symbol, thinking it was this company that just merged. And it wasn't. It was this other little company. Their stock was like $1, and they do a few thousand shares a day. And then that day they had 100,000 share trade, and the prices jumped, and then it crashed the next day when people realized that was the wrong stock. That was the wrong stock symbol we bought.
That's crazy. Yeah, see you, Steve.
Yep, we'll see ya.
Carol.
Take it easy. Gee, it's too bad that person didn't come in who had the photo question because she could have had.
Yeah.
She doesn't even live that far. She should come in.
Was it Linda?
No, it was somebody who's taken a bunch of the iPad classes here. I don't remember what her question was.
Let's see. Why don't we find the Apple keynote and start playing that? There's some really touching points at the beginning of the keynote where they talking about this Steve Jobs Theater that they held it in, the first event on the new Apple Park campus, and they were talking about Steve Jobs.
And when was that?
Tuesday. So it's available on Apple's website as well as a podcast.
So, did Joel sound like he was going to buy the new? I think Helen will.
Yeah, that's what he said. She's more one to get it.
Yeah. Although he's.
Play. Volume. Projector's not as bright as it could be.
There's lots of ways to be as a person. And some people express their deep appreciation in different ways. But one of the ways that I believe people express their appreciation to the rest of humanity is to make something wonderful and put it out there. And you never meet the people, you never shake their hands, you never hear their story or tell yours, but somehow in the act of making something with a great deal of care and love, something's transmitted there. And it's a way of expressing to the rest of our species our deep appreciation. So we need to be true to who we are and remember what's really important to us. That's what's going to keep Apple, Apple, is if we keep us, us.
Thank you.
I love hearing his voice and his inspiring message. And it was only fitting that Steve should open his theater.
A new theater at the campus.
It is the honor of a lifetime to be the first to welcome you to the Steve Jobs Theater. Steve meant so much to me and so much to all of us. There's not a day that goes by that we don't think about him. Memories have especially come rushing back as we prepared for today and this event. It's taken some time, but we can now reflect on him with joy instead of sadness. Steve's spirit and timeless philosophy on life will always be the DNA of Apple. His greatest gift, his greatest expression of his appreciation for humanity would not be a singular product, but rather it would be Apple itself. We dedicate this theater to Steve because we loved him and because he loved days like this, where he could share our latest new products and new ideas with the world. And we do so not only to pay tribute to Steve, but to inspire the next generation of creators and innovators. Steve was a genius. And one of the many ways that he showed that was in his uncanny ability to unlock the talent of everybody that he worked with. He thought deeply about our workplace and its surroundings, and he believed that they should inspire talented people to do their best work. So over a decade ago, he began to work on a new campus for Apple.
Really?
Steve's vision and passion live
Not that
on
much
here
longer.
at Apple Farm and everywhere. Today and always, we honor him. We're here today to talk about some incredible products. Before we get to that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about what's happening in Florida and Texas, southeastern United States.
Oh, that's almost louder over here.
Across the Caribbean. Our hearts go out to all of the people whose lives have been disrupted by Hurricanes Irma and Hurricane Harvey. You're in our thoughts. We send you our strength. You are in our prayers. Apple is working closely with relief and recovery efforts through Hand in Hand and the American Red Cross. And in addition to Apple's direct contributions, we're making it really simple for the entire Apple community to donate via iTunes and the App Store. The Hand in Hand benefit for hurricane relief airs tonight on all of the major broadcast networks. And I encourage you to watch it. And however you choose to give, I hope that you open your heart to this important effort. Thank you. Now, let me tell you a little bit about our new home. We'll start moving in Apple Park later this year, but of course, such a large move is really more of a process. And the first big step is the opening today of the Steve Jobs Theater. It's the most state-of-the-art, purpose-built theater ever, built for events just like this one. Apple Park has been built to reflect Apple's values for both technology and the environment. It connects extraordinarily advanced buildings with a rolling parkland to form an open and inspiring environment for our teams to create and collaborate. The park itself was converted from a sea of asphalt into a 175-acre green space with over 9,000 trees. Apple Park is designed to be seamless with nature. It's open, transparent. It brings the outside in and connects everyone to the beautiful California landscape. It's powered by 100% renewable energy. Thank you. And in fact, we have one of the world's largest on-site solar installations right here. And just like everything we make, Apple Park has been designed with extraordinary attention to detail, incredible precision, and really beautiful materials. We've got a great visitor center, which will be open later this year, where we will welcome everyone. And inside the visitor center, you'll find an incredible augmented reality experience where you can learn more about Apple Park, its design, and its innovations. You'll also find a fantastic new Apple retail store. As you know, Apple retail has always been about more than selling. It's about learning, inspiring, and connecting with people. Now, our stores are also the best place to go discover, explore, and experience our new products. So before we get to some incredible products, we'd like to give you an update on retail. And to do that, I'd like to invite Angela up. Angela?
Good morning. Thank you. It's great to be here. And I love the fact that the same team that designs Apple Park also designs our largest retail stores around the world. But it's funny, because we actually don't call them stores anymore. We call them town squares, because they're gathering places for 500 million people who visit us every year. Places where everyone's welcome and where all of Apple comes together. But what really brings it all to life, as Tim said, are our incredible teams. We've always said that our people are our soul. And they're Apple's greatest differentiator because they bring personal connection to communities all over the world. They humanize technology. But along with our amazing teams, our commitment to design also sets us apart. To make things simple, beautiful. And that's why we think of Apple Retail as Apple's largest products. And like all of our products, we've designed new features to take the customer experience even further. In our largest cities where we can, we create a plaza, a space open to everyone. Come in and relax, meet up with friends, or just listen to a local artist on the weekends. Inside, we've designed a forum, a place for customers to come and create, collaborate, or just connect again with one another. For local entrepreneurs and app developers, we have a quieter space in the larger stores called a boardroom where they can learn more from our teams or again, share with each other. And the Genius Grove, a redesigned, more relaxed service experience now in the heart of our largest stores. And lastly, the avenues. Kind of like shop windows around a town square. They're carefully curated and they change seasonally to always feature our newest products and services. And this summer, to turn on these new features, we've launched Today at Apple, our in-store experience designed to inspire customers to go even further with their passions. We started with things that are core to Apple's DNA, things people most use their devices for, and they trust us to teach them, like photography, music, gaming, and app development. We've created new programs like photo walks, where customers can perfect their photography skills with features like portrait mode and memories. And we do all of this in a really fun social way by taking them out to the neighborhood to explore with each other. Or Swift Playgrounds, where the next generation app developers can begin to learn the basics of coding. And one of my personal favorites, Teachers Tuesdays, where our teams help local educators stay updated on the newest technologies and apps. In some of our larger stores, sessions are led by local artists, like this music lab called The Art of Beat Making with RZA and the Rolly team in Brooklyn. These sessions in all stores are led by our creative team and a new position we call a Creative Pro. So the Creative Pro is now to liberal arts as the genius has always been to technology. And I would love to show a quick video to show you how Today at Apple is coming to life.
Welcome to Today at Apple. Today at Apple, we're going to be learning about coding.
Today at Apple, we're going to be talking with a very talented illustrator.
Today at Apple, we're learning about photography.
You have tons of good ideas in your head, so it's like, oh, I like that. I'm going to explore that some more.
When you do something for the first time, you have to be completely fearless.
We've just started. We've just started, but the feedback has been fantastic. Customers are telling us they love the role that Apple Retail is playing in their community. So what's next? Well, we're going to continue to open Apple Town Squares in the top cities around the world. We're going to invest in online, and we're also going to continue to reinvest in our 400 classic locations, including Apple Fifth Avenue in New York City, where we're opening up the plaza to allow natural sunlight to come in into a greatly expanded space below. And you can see the glass cube will return when reopened late next year.
People were horrified when they started taking down the glass cube.
And in Paris, we're restoring an entire historic building on the iconic Champs-Élysées. We're turning a 5-story atrium into our largest forum. Early next year, we're transforming a theater beneath Piazza Liberty into a modern day town.
Yeah, I had a few earlier. Answered their questions and they left.
All right. Well, I can answer my question.
Yeah. Maybe. You ask hard questions.
I do.
Supposed to ask easy questions, make me look good.
Well, the thing is, if I ask hard questions and you get it right, then you look even better.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll start out with my hard question here. The Mac Pro, I believe it is a quad-core 2.8 built in 2010 with the Lem processor.
Nehalem, I think.
Nehalem, yes. Okay. 3 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte hard drive, the super drive. Client added 1 terabyte hard drive and a 2 terabyte hard drive to that. So the latest on the thing is I took the thing apart. I looked at the power supply. Power supply looked good. I didn't see any capacitors bulging or anything. It looked clean. Put it back together. I had pulled like everything out. I had pulled the memory out. I had pulled the bottom board.
How many memory cards does it have?
It has 3. They're each a gig. And I put it all back together. I crossed my fingers and plugged everything in. And as soon as the thing had power, it turned on. And it booted, and it showed me a screen where you log in. Of course, I don't have the guy's login password or anything, so I didn't go any farther than that. So I'm looking around for my iPad, and I said, I want to take a picture of this. So I was looking for it, and in the 2 minutes that it was on, suddenly it decided it was going to turn itself off. And it did that. And then it wouldn't start up again. So I have a theory, but I want to see what your theory is first.
I'm still trying to find the computer. You said it was a 2010?
Yeah, it's a 2010.
None of the Mac Pros came with the Nehalem processor.
Why was it listed that way? Well, it's probably... Maybe it's
You might have been looking at MacBook Pro.
I went to a different website than the one you're on. Maybe that was the one.
Do you have the serial number handy?
I've got that and the model number. So you can look at it.
So it turns on but turns itself off. So first thought would be power supply, next thought would be logic board.
But the logic board chimes just fine.
Well, the chime just means it passed the power on self-test. Something else is wrong somewhere along the way.
Okay, shall I give you my guess?
Sure.
My guess is that it turns on just fine. And after 2 minutes, it heats up. And it realizes at that point that, hey, one of the fans isn't working right. And it says, oh, it's not working? I'd better shut myself down so I don't overheat. What do you think of that theory?
Yeah.
And of course, it doesn't turn back on again because it knows that there was still a problem the last time it turned on and you have to replace the fan.
Yeah, the mid-2010 model came with the Bloomfield, Gulftown, or Westmere processor. Never had the Nehalem processor.
Well, this was on a different website that I saw that. So, go with the Apple website. So it's probably a Xenon or something.
I have to turn that on and that off. No, it's Bloomfield, Gulftown, or Westmere. If it's a 2.8, it's probably the Bloomfield.
Okay. Bloomfield. Oh, you can find the serial number. Okay. So it is a 2010 then?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the mid-2010 model.
All right.
As opposed to the mid-2010 model.
The server.
The server version, yeah. Let me see what these guys have for it.
I suspect, too, that this power supply was replaced once before. Because I noticed that these screws holding on that back panel that covers the cable was loose.
May not have been replaced, but certainly it
investigated,
yeah. I am not a robot. Now, interesting. That one says it's in Nehalem.
Yeah, that was kind of what I ended up with.
And that
Of
one
course,
doesn't.
I can't, get into the system long enough because the damn thing doesn't stay on long enough.
1289, yeah, that matches. Memory. It's got 4 slots. Try one memory card at a time, see what happens.
Yeah, there wasn't any difference with that. I had tried it without, but with just one memory card. Same deal.
Oops. Can you tell if all the fans are spinning?
I don't have enough time to tell, and the thing is, it's not on long enough that I can even open the thing up and take a look at it while it's on. Because it's such a pain to try to get it to boot again. You have to like take out.
Let it cool off completely,
You
maybe.
gotta let it cool
Well,
off
that would point to the overheating problem. It's possible someone took the heat sinks off the processor and didn't put the thermal paste back on properly. And it may not be a fan, but it's overheating because the heat sink isn't right, so it shuts down that way.
But at this point, I've got too many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And I've got to decide what the hell am I going to tell the client about it. Should I tell them just go out to eBay and get another one?
Yeah, that says Nehalem too. I bet the other ones are the families inside Nehalem. Yeah, let's see. Let's see what Gazelle will give them for that. Do I still have it in my paste buffer? Yes, I do. 0.
Well, it's an old machine.
Yeah.
Not in demand. I don't know if you can get fans for this thing on eBay or not.
Probably.
But then I would hate to buy the fans and then not have it work.
It would have to be all of the fans not working in order for it to shut off that fast. MacBook Pro, Mac Pro.
I was thinking I would probably have to replace all the fans just to make sure they were right. Unless I can run it with the case open once and see which fans are running.
Yeah, you don't need to leave the case cover on. That can be open.
It was kind of my last Hail Mary at the thing, It was like, it's either going to start or it isn't. If it isn't going to start, I'm done with it. And then I went ahead and started.
Yeah.
Piece of crap. Shut down.
$300 from Sell Your Mac.
Okay.
In working condition.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Let's go back and say it's not working. 0. Yeah.
Not working, 0.
It could be the thermal paste issue. I kind of doubt it's the fans, because it would have to be all of them to shut down that fast. Have you tried the built-in diagnostics?
I can't even get that far.
Doesn't even try booting diagnostics? When you can get it to power on, go straight into diagnostics.
So
What is it? Command D?
Command D?
Or no, just D.
Well, he's running Snow Leopard.
Doesn't matter.
Command D?
Unless the hard drive has been erased and then it's not there anymore. Yeah, just D. Yeah, you can buy a replacement. Does he need the slots for anything?
He's using one slot for his graphics card so that he can hook up his monitor. That's it.
Yeah, Mac Mini for $4.99. So let's check benchmarks.
It's got 3 drives. That's the problem.
External are easy enough.
I know, but I have to buy like 3 cases for it.
Or by one.
Or by one big drive.
One bigger drive. Yeah. So the 2.8 scores a 7,400 on the benchmarks. So if we look at a Mac Mini, brand new. So the $499 model scores a 52, $699 is a 61. So for $500 you can get nearly an equivalent machine.
Yeah.
He has a monitor, you're saying? Yeah, because it's a Mac Pro. You go with an iMac, and it's faster, and then he has 2 monitors. But then you're looking at 1,100 minimum.
Yeah.
We have problems telling people their computer's not worth fixing.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting argument that, in fact, we had one this week. He broke his LCD panel. I'll take that before you forget it.
Thanks.
And the Apple repair for a broken LCD panel on a Retina Mac was like $1,000. Third-party repair is pushing $500 because the glass and the LCD are glued together in the display. It's a pain in the ass to replace. Sorry, YouTube, pain in the arse. No. And so it's an expensive repair.
Yeah.
And then we had another guy with a 2010 computer that he broke the LCD. And same sort of thing, $500 to fix it. It's not worth that much. $1,000 buys you a brand new Air.
Yeah.
That probably has faster benchmarks.
Yeah.
Oh, I want the 15-inch screen. All right, 15-inch model is $2,000 because it's a quad i7, super fast whiz bang.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems in Apple's product line is they don't sell a low-end big screen computer.
That's right.
They don't sell a high-end small screen computer.
Yep.
So and we have a hard time telling people you buy a 15-inch computer, you don't get bigger print. You get a bigger screen.
Yeah.
It's not like a television where a 50-inch screen you see a bigger image. On a 15-inch computer, you see more image. You don't see bigger.
Because there's more pixels and
Yeah.
the image, you have smaller icons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Usually when we get about half the cost of a new computer is when we start telling people, no, you really shouldn't put this much money into an old computer.
Yeah.
Quite frequently we get 13-inch models in that they're old enough that the battery is going, so it's 130 for the battery. They probably only have 2 or 4 gigs of RAM. So a couple $100 to get you to 16 gigs of RAM. Hard drive failed. A couple $100 for hard drive. So suddenly you're looking at $600, $700, $800 to upgrade this old machine. But it's $1,000 to buy a new one. So they spend $700 to fix the old one.
Yeah.
And we hate doing it. We feel it's a piss away of money. Sorry, YouTube. But it's hard because 700 is less than 1,000. But 2010 doesn't sound like that old a computer, but it's 7 years old.
That's true.
And
Dinosaur twice.
yeah, it's computer years. we joke sometimes is, you know, like dog years, you know, 7 people years for a dog year.
Yeah.
It's about 20 computer years for a people year.
Yeah.
So that 7-year-old computer, yeah, it's only 7 years old, but that's really old for a computer.
Maybe you need to look at generations.
Yeah, you're 10 generations old. You really should take that money. So take that $500 you were going to spend fixing it, put another $500 into it, and now you got a brand new computer.
Yeah.
With a bigger drive, more storage, faster processor, better screen, and a warranty.
Yeah.
And especially rough on the old towers because people really love their old towers.
Oh yeah, and you can see why, because they're so well designed.
Yeah.
Everything was very modular.
And no one ever moduled anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very few people ever put cards in or replaced drives or much of anything.
Yeah.
You got 4 hard drive bays in it. People still have 1. Occasionally 2 for a backup drive. Although I've never liked having an internal backup drive, because whatever blows the primary internal drive could take out the secondary internal drive too.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
All right.
And then you don't want to go to the customer with no diagnosis.
Well, yeah. And you don't want to be too vague.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yep. It's probably the logic board. Cost you $1,000 to find out. So, oops, let's look for a mid-2010 logic board. Now, the trick always is to make sure it's working. A lot of times you'll see one that's...
For parts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too cheap. Here we go, $99 for a Mac Mini. That's not what I searched for. Stupid eBay. I searched for a Mac Pro.
Yeah. The eBay has more subcategories on the left-hand side now. So
Yeah.
look down for the exact model that you want.
But again, you're taking the risk that whoever this person is took it apart right, didn't damage it during disassembly.
It doesn't get damaged in shipping.
Yeah, stored it right, ships it right.
Yeah, see, for the amount of money for a logic board, it really isn't worth it.
Plus the 3-hour tear apart it takes you to replace it.
And the amount of labor that I've had to put in.
Yeah.
More labor I'd be putting into it then.
We used to have a joke in our store, if it was beige, we wouldn't look at it.
Yeah.
That was when the computers were white. Now, if it's white, we really don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
Because they stopped making the white ones in 2006.
Yeah.
2007 was when the silver started. So it's been silver for 10 years, and we don't have any way to classify it now by color being too old.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. I just got this computer. No, you didn't. It's 7 years old. Well, my car lasts 20 years. Good for your car. That's not a computer. Well, I barely use it.
Yeah, that's what I got from this client. It's like, oh, it seems like I just bought this yesterday. No, it was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, you know, aren't they supposed to last longer than that? No.
No, they're supposed to last about 3 years. 3 to 5
years.
3 to 5 years.
3 years is what the IRS says it's worth, and at the end of 3 years, it's considered totally without value.
Some of the computers, I don't think they do it anymore. It was a SATA spec. Some of the computers have a power on hours setting, or not setting, thing, statistic in the computer, where it tells you how long the computer's been on. And we used to record that on all of our models. So, you know, this computer's been running for 8,000 hours. But I just got it. It's been running for 8,000 hours. It's probably worn out by now. Heating and cooling and spinning and shutting down. And very annoying. But it's my baby. Yeah. We say that we shouldn't have called them personal computers, because then it's personal.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. And it should work.
So, Carol, do you have any questions? Not really, not right now. Oh, so what did you think of our meeting, Adam Angst?
I think it went well.
Yeah, Adam really knew his stuff, even though it was so long.
Well, he had just wrote about it the day before, so it was fresh in his mind. Although I do think next year maybe we should try for August, before the meetings, or before the announcements. Because sometimes even October is bad, because there's an October announcement.
Yeah, I'm waiting for an October announcement. I would like to see some other computers.
What did they announce on Mac OS? Was that the 19th also? High Sierra?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Let's see what I can find. I doubt they'd have an announcement for that. They'll probably have an announcement when the HomePod and iMac Pro are closer to shipping. What is it? Yeah. In the keynote, they did give a date, apparently. Try Macworld. I don't like iMore's new website. They're more than Macs now, so they have too much stuff on there. Let's see.
Yeah, if they put a bunch of PC stuff on, makes it difficult to find.
Well, not just PCs, but they're doing Android phones, they're doing games, they're doing gadgets. Mac OS.
From Siri to Apple Watch to
Yes. Yeah, the new iTunes that took out the App Store and iBooks and moved internet radio. I know I saw a story on it.
The new iTunes came out again for the umpteenth time.
Yeah, that's what I just said. The new version, they took out the App Store and iBooks. So people have been complaining for years that iTunes is doing too much, and they should split it out into separate programs. And now that Apple's starting to do that, other people are complaining that there's not enough. That it changed and the stuff they used to do is gone now. I wonder if Apple has it now.
What's
Since
the password here for TechAge 5G?
the JCC is open. TechAge password with Joel Elias 21. Joel was here earlier. Put in an appearance before he went to the track with his brand new hip.
How's he spell his last name?
E-L-I-A-S.
Ah. You said it was 28?
21. Yeah, September 25th is High Sierra, so that's coming out the same day as iOS. No, iOS is the 19th. They learned. Was it last year? Was it iOS, tvOS, watchOS, and macOS all came out the same day, and the servers were completely overwhelmed, and people complained that they couldn't download it. So now let's stagger it along a bit.
Does he use any caps?
No.
Joel?
Yeah.
And then ELIAS 21. Didn't work.
For the TechAge class?
TechAge 5G.
No, TechAge class.
TechAge class.
Or the open JCC Rochester. So we're trying to figure out where this picture was taken, if that's a famous mountain in High Sierra, in the Sierra Nevadas. Like Yosemite and Half Dome were. More reliable. Let's always hope for more reliable. HEVC doesn't have a pronounceable name. Havoc? They should have come up with a better acronym that you can actually pronounce. Faster metal. Better VR. Bigger, better, faster. That's what we want. And they're adding more to the sidebar in photos, which is an interesting acknowledgement that people love the sidebar. The first version of Photos didn't have a sidebar. It was off by default. And it looked so different from iPhoto, no one knew what to do. And everyone hated it. Even once you turn the sidebar back on, it looked a lot more like Photos. So now they're adding more things to the sidebar. People want the sidebar. Autoplay blocking. So websites that autoplay audio won't be able to anymore until they figure out a way to get around it. Chirp. iCloud storage family is coming. So you can share the storage with your family rather than per ID. So right now it's 5 gigabytes per ID. Apparently they're going to be adding more family sharing, so your family can store more photos. Yeah, so if you do the 200 gigs a month, you can share that among all the members of your family. So instead of 5 gigs free, 5 gigs free, it's $3 a month.
Well, I'm still going to refuse to pay Apple anything. I don't like their iCloud.
I wouldn't mind if it was 5 gigs per device. But you buy a 64 gig phone, you can't back it up because you only get 5 gigs of storage.
Yeah, that's right.
They are one of the lowest of the free storages of all the services. Google is among the highest with 15 gigs free.
How's MediaFire doing? It's been a while since I've checked them.
I think they disappeared. Or they went pro but didn't
Start uploading files for free.
I think that was it. It was internet only. You could no longer sync to your desktop. And only 10 gigs free. Okay, 10 gigs free, 50 gigs free. What's the difference? So you get 10 gig, oh, maybe like Dropbox, you get 10 gigs free, but if you sign other people up, you get more storage.
Oh, that must be it. I remember it used to be 50 gig.
Yeah. I read about a neat service, send.firefox.com. Will let you send any file, no matter the size, to another device. So you can send a giant file to somebody.
Through email?
No, through the web. And it will encrypt it at your end. You give the key to them, they can decrypt it, and it deletes itself once they download it. And you can set an expiration date if you don't want it to last too long if they don't download it. And it's kind of neat, a completely free service.
I think all you're doing is you're uploading it to their server.
Yeah, it's going to...
The other person is downloading it to their server.
Right. But it's an easy way to get large files from one person to another.
Yeah.
If you don't already have iCloud or Google or Dropbox or OneDrive or any of the other services.
Yeah.
And it says it's most reliable to use files under a gig, but there's no limit that they found in the size of files that they will send. Although uploading a 1 gig file will take forever. Speaking of files, CrashPlan is discontinuing their personal service.
Yeah, you were saying that at the meeting.
Which is annoying because that's what we use. So we use it at the stores, what I use at home. Free off-site backup because it backs up to somebody else's computer. So it's shutting down in a year. They're no longer accepting new users, and they're giving you a year to find somebody else. What's interesting is they're recommended. Well, they recommend themselves for $10 a month for small business, or Carbonite Personal for $5 a month. But Carbonite is $5 per computer per month. You get 2 computers, you're better off with the small business plan, which is more than 1 computer. Oh, that's kind of nice. Backup for free until the next subscription ends. So you can get into CrashPlan Pro for free for a year because you were a CrashPlan free subscriber.
So if there's no one here, are you just talking to YouTube?
And you.
Covering whatever topics you want?
We were watching the keynote. I haven't seen it all the way through. Kept getting interrupted at the store. But if you guys don't have any questions, we'll probably just call it early.
I'm just tired. I'm trying to think of things.
I missed the lobster dinner at Mars today. So Gloria and shoot, what's his name? The two people from Animal Motor Works, which is one of the big vendors that come to the rocket launch. And I'm not going to find it. I have to do Animal Motor Works. They live in Massachusetts on the ocean. They were bringing lobster and steak if you wanted to have the potluck dinner tonight at 5 o'clock. So Animal Motor Works, all their rockets are named after animals. And it was interesting. That's probably not on here anymore. But they added the steak and lobster to their website. So you go to the website, you buy a rocket, you buy a motor, you buy a lobster dinner. So you would prepay, and then they would come and bring it all with them.
I found I was running into some noise problems with my music, and it turned out that the noise was coming from GarageBand. And when I quit GarageBand, the noise and the line disappeared.
That's weird.
Yeah, I thought it was.
GarageBand had an open mic, an instrument recording from the mic and feeding back to the speaker?
No, what I was doing was I was using GarageBand, the electric piano, as an instrument to be an input to my vocalizer.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed I was getting all this noise. It's like, where's it coming from? It's like line
There
noise.
it is.
And I, tried disconnecting all sorts of, physical things. And I finally narrowed it down to, no, it's GarageBand when it runs on this Mac. It's an input. As soon as I quit GarageBand, all the noise goes away. So my workaround then was, I noticed that my normal synthesizer, if it went into my vocalizer, didn't give me the noise at all. So I said, okay, if that's the case, I'm going to tell my other computer that's using Logic Pro to play back the notes that I just played on the piano to my hard synthesizer and have the hard synthesizer be the input to the vocalizer. And that worked. go figure. It's like, why is GarageBand giving off noise?
Weird. Is this the big one? No, let's do the small one first. So I've shown you my rocket videos from the onboard camera. Let's see how well this works. This is my Red Max to about 1,000 feet. Come on, you can play. It's buffering. Yeah, I've seen people tear apart their consoles looking for where that noise is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
We have it at CIDER now and then. We set everything up exactly the same way, and sometimes there's a hum.
60 hertz hum.
Yep.
Where's it coming from?
There we go. Whee! There's a launch tomorrow if you want to come down.
Mm-hmm. What time to what time? 10 a.m. to something?
10 to 5.
Okay.
5:30.
Oh, that's right. It's Dorinda's birthday dinner, right?
It's my sister-in-law's birthday today, too.
Hmm.
And down. I think I saved me at the end on this one. Yeah, there I am. Hi. And then turn the camera off. And this is my torrent. This one, somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 feet. The one sim I used said 2,500. Another guy on Facebook posted that he has the same rocket with the same motor, and his altimeter got 3,100 feet. I need an altimeter. I put it on my birthday list for Shirley. Which won't happen, I know, but it's on my list.
There was an interesting announcement made about live code this week. They said, oh, in the new version, we've got autocomplete, for code. So that basically, you start to type and it comes up and it says, oh, do you want this, line of code? And then it forces you to select one of the choices that they give you for autocomplete. And as soon as I saw it, I said, this is going to really screw up the way I think and program. So I wrote to them and I said, this is all good and nice, but do you have a preference so that I can turn this off if I want to just continue working the old-fashioned way? And they wrote back and they said, not at this time. You might want to make that an enhancement request. So I filled out an enhancement request, and a bunch more people then chimed in and said, yeah, I want to be able to turn this off.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
So can you imagine being the programmers there? We just created this great and wonderful thing, and now people want us to turn it off.
Yep. People hate change. So that's
pop-ups.
That's the museum in the upper corner. The National Warplane Museum was doing pilot check flights in the B-17 the last couple of weeks, and I'm just thinking, a hell of a thing for a pilot to be able to get a check flight in a B-17 and put that in their logbook.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were taking off and landing at Geneseo, but they went to Batavia for a flight, and they're posting all this on their Facebook page. And then they posted this video, which they're in the traffic pattern, ready to leave Batavia, and they're following a Cessna. Can you imagine the guy in the Cessna looking in his rearview mirror?
Yeah.
And there's a B-17 behind him? Yeah. Holy crap!
There was something on Channel 9 today. They were talking about the
Shush.
about the aerodrome which is down in Rhinegold.
Yeah, yeah, the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome. Huge air show there every year.
Yeah, and that's what they were talking about. And they showed all these World War I planes that are flying.
Yep.
You gotta be kidding me. The things are 100 years old. They still work.
Every weekend, it looks like.
Yeah. No biplane rides. Yeah, I don't want it.
On today.
Okay.
The Hammondsport Museum, Curtis Museum, is doing wheels.
Star Trek thing too.
What do they call it? Wheels and Wings.
Well, the sci-fi thing that's down there, that's only till the 30th of September. So if we're going to do it, we got to do it soon.
And quilts are coming. There you go, Wings and Wheels in Hammondsport. Yeah, the sci-fi props.
So if we're going to get down there, we got to do it soon.
There's too much to do and suddenly no time left to do it in.
Yeah.
The fall foliage tour that I found is coming up early October. And then just coincidentally, the CEO of the Livonia, Avon, and Lakeville Railroad brought his computer in for repair.
Interesting.
So I'm looking at his, I look at the website for his company, and there's a train that looks familiar, and it's coming up here in a moment. The train that's on the fall foliage website is the train that they use. Normally, the train museum just goes like 3 miles up, 3 miles back, but the fall foliage tour is 20 miles from Avon to Lakeville all the way. Yeah, there it is.
So today and tomorrow is rock cut.
Yeah.
Burt Ward doesn't look that good.
Getting old.
Yeah, he's missing some teeth.
Well, that's interesting. They have things for that now. You can sometimes tell the budget of a con by the tier of guests they get.
Well, also by their graphic arts.
Well, not really. Oh, I didn't remember Felix Silva was coming. I thought it was Silva, Felix Silva.
Yeah, Nana Visitor's there too, I guess. Such a strange last name.
First name, also Nana.
Yeah.
I wonder if that might not even be her real name. Might just be a nickname for SAG. I'll do it this way. Come on.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, she went silver. Oh, Nana is her birth name, but it's not Visitor, it's Tucker.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So there must have been a Nana Tucker already in
Showbiz.
show business, yeah.
Explains that one. How she came up with that other last name, I'll never know.
It probably says in here somewhere. Adopted her stage name, yeah, it doesn't say why.
No.
A lot of times it was anonymity. You don't want your real name out, so you're harder to track down.
Well, that's true if it's an unusual name.
Yeah. And then sometimes you pick an unusual name. Engelbert Humperdinck.
To be more unique and remembered.
His real name was Arnold Dorsey. Oh, who was it this week? The Mike Rowe has a podcast. That's the way I heard it. And he calls it a podcast for people with short attention span. So it's like 5 or 6 minutes. And this week he did one on a singer. So half the podcast he's trying to figure out who he's talking about because it's always somebody famous. So we talk about a singer from a military family. As a rebellious teenager, he ran away from home, borrowed his dad's car, drove to California. His dad was an Air Force colonel, hopped in a plane and flew to California, dragged him back home. So all this stuff, and he suddenly, when he turned 18, he really left home, and Dad didn't go get him, and ended up writing songs and selling them to Peter, Paul, and Mary, and all the famous people. And he picked his name was Henry Dusendorf, is his birth name. And so he picked a stage name by grabbing a city on the map and became really famous, ended up liking airplanes. John Denver, yeah. Really liked airplanes, got into experimental airplanes, was killed in an airplane crash, flying an experimental airplane, a home-built airplane that he didn't build. He bought it pre-built, and he was doing touch and goes, and he landed and was going to take off once more. The ground chief asked if he wanted refueled. He said, no, that's okay. I'm not going to be up very long, and I've got the second fuel tank. When he's in the air, he runs out of fuel. The fuel cutover switch for the second tank was behind him. The original builder put it in a really bad spot. So you actually had to get up, twist your whole body to flip the switch. And while he was trying to do that, he lost control of the plane and it crashed. And the NTSB cited the original owner for putting it in the wrong place. Cited John Denver for lack of familiarity with the aircraft. But yeah, he was born Henry John Dusendorf. Jr. Hank Jr. That was a really interesting story. Ooh, he was my age when he died. But Mike Rowe's podcast is pretty neat. That's the way I heard it. So you're always trying to figure out who they're talking about before he says.
So does Apple really think they're going to sell a bunch of $1,000 iPhones?
Sure. Enough. Some of it we think is typical with products. They price it that high to cut down on sales. Which one of the stories we heard is that the OLED screens are in such short supply because everybody's using them. They're hard to get. And Apple comes along and say, we need 50 million of them this month. What?
Can't have it.
Right. So there was a story in the news, and Trump was touting it as one of his achievements, that Apple is building a plant in the U.S. to manufacture iPhones.
Yeah.
Turns out it was Foxconn, a Chinese company, or actually a Taiwanese company. Their biggest plant is in China, and they make iPhones and everything else. Pretty much every electronic thing in the world is made by Foxconn in this plant in China. The plant is going to be in Wisconsin, and it's going to make OLED panels for Samsung. So everything Trump said was wrong. And it's going to generate a lot of construction jobs but not that many permanent jobs.
Once whatever's built is built, that's it.
Yeah.
Everything lately is whenever somebody wants to build something new, instead of, renovating something, they say, oh, it's going to create all these jobs.
Yeah. And one of the things is, I don't know if this article tells about it. So it's a $10 billion plant, $10 billion plant, and they made a deal with the state of Wisconsin, and Wisconsin taxpayers are footing $3 billion of the deal. And Foxconn is going to have tax subsidies for the next 10 years or some ridiculous length. So it's a hell of a deal for Foxconn. Maybe not that good a deal for the taxpayers of Wisconsin. And it's only going to hire 3,000 people. Well, that's not very many. Especially since their plant in China, they have 1 million people working there. Literally 1 million people working there. Mm-hmm. Say every day, 10 or 20,000 people show up at the front to look for a job, and about 10 or 20,000 people leave at the other end. Mm-hmm. So there's a pretty constant flow going through. Kids come in from the deep rural outlying areas, make a fortune in China. Upper middle class. So they're making LCD panels for Sharp. But I think Apple uses some Sharp LCD panels. So yeah, and all of these stories also say Apple supplier Foxconn. Everybody uses Foxconn. They've got another plant in Brazil that I think has another 1 million people working in it. Ooh, falls short in 2015. Oh, they're going to shut it down this year. Wow. That's huge. Put 1 million people out of work. A lot of countries... In fact, Apple's running into this in India, too. A lot of countries have a it has to be made here policy. So Apple's having a hard time selling the iPhone in India because they don't make them in India. So there were stories that Apple was going to build a plant in India just so they could make something there. And be able to sell iPhones because something is made in India.
Yeah. You know what the third most popular computer is?
Computer model or computer manufacturer?
Manufacturer.
Well, Apple was down to number 3 in the last quarter.
It wasn't Apple. Maybe I should say type of computer.
I'd rather go to Laptop Magazine for that. Now, according to them, Apple's down to number 5. That may be only, yeah, that's only laptops. What's interesting is if you include iPhones as a computer, Apple just blows everyone away.
Well, this is a little while ago, so maybe it's dated information now. But Raspberry Pi was actually 3.
Oh, yeah?
It's like you've got your PCs, you've got your Apple computer, and then the next one is Raspberry Pi.
Because it's $30.
That's right.
So let's see. I hate these sites that they give you one paragraph and then you have to
look,
page.
Timex Sinclair.
Timex Sinclair. Yep.
I do.
So historical computers.
They had to use a cassette.
So they sold 600,000 units, and that gets it to number 10 on the list. So what is number 1? The Commodore 64. How many units? 30 million units. Estimates vary from 12 to 30. Partly, I think, because Commodore doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe they didn't track their sales when they did exist.
just didn't share the information.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Proprietary information doesn't get shared.
Yeah, Apple only shares top numbers. They don't break things down very much. Let's see. We're in the third quarter now, aren't we? Yeah, no, we're in fourth quarter now, because next quarter is first quarter for Christmas.
I thought the new Apple Watch was interesting, but you had to get a plan with it. $10 a month.
Well, it's not a plan. It's just $10 a month added onto your current cell phone.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, forget it. I want a watch that's going to be independent, that there's no plan with.
Well, then you can't have cellular. If there's cellular on it, you have to have a plan. Well, then don't buy the cellular one.
I just want a watch.
Yeah, there's 3 other models you can buy that don't have cellular.
But I don't want it to require my phone either. You know?
You can't have a smartwatch. You got to get a Garmin then.
So you don't want it to function as a phone either.
No, because then you got to pay the
Well,
fee.
then you should buy a Fitbit.
A Fitbit, huh?
Or the Strive, like I had. It crashed.
You can get a Fitbit that has GPS.
Ah.
Or one of the Garmins, like
Your watch is like in
Adam was talking about.
Uh-huh.
The Fitbit Ionic is the new product. Now, which one just died? What's the other? Not Fitbit. The other smartwatch
CIDER.
tracking company. One of them bought the other one and killed it off. Fitbit Blaze or Fitbit Ionic?
Then the other thing I'm concerned with is I noticed that Carol's Fitbit has 2 green LEDs. They seem to be on all the time.
Well, there's one that's for measuring your heart rate. So
But-
it's on all the time to be a heart rate measurement.
Yeah, but isn't it like exposing your skin to light all the time? It was a bit like the Apple phone, the new one that scans your face. It uses 30,000 infrared dots that it puts on your face so it can figure out the 3D configuration of it.
I wonder about that one.
You know, and you don't know how much infrared is there unless Apple publishes the specs on how much the emitter puts out.
Or turn that feature off.
Can you turn off the face recognition feature?
Probably. You can turn off the Touch ID now. It probably wouldn't be on the website. There's probably a white paper on it. 625 candles per square meter screen brightness.
I think the only argument you can make is, well, if you go out and you're in the sunlight, you're getting a lot more infrared than you will ever get from this phone.
Yeah. And for, well, guys, people with facial hair, the IR sees through your beard and mustache, so if you grow out a beard, it doesn't change what the point map sees of your face.
A little reference to they tested it with different kinds of masks.
Yeah, they went to Hollywood makeup artists and did facial life masks.
So there are masks that can fool it. It tells me.
Well, they said 1 in a million. It was interesting. They said that Touch ID is 1 in 50,000, which is a very small number comparatively. On Security Now, it's 5 o'clock even.
It's 5 o'clock.
On Security Now, they talked about anecdotal stories about people who've had their friends try their fingerprint reader on their phone, and several people have said, "Yeah, a friend can read it." It said it passed the fingerprint test. One of the things Apple does by making you tap your finger a bunch of times in different areas is they're taking a bunch of different partial sensors, and they're comparing close enough. And if someone is
Yeah, because you're not always going to be at the exact same spot.
right,
Too, so it's going to be coming from a different angle as it moves it.
yep, and so other people are close enough to get into your phone. Sometimes close enough is close enough. Alrighty, I guess we'll call it a day. It's a day.
Well, thank you, Steve. As always, it was entertaining.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I guess next month, October 11th is our meeting. So that would be 12, 13, 14th would be the meeting here. We'll see you all next time. Somebody's been watching on the stream. So hi to you. And goodbye, and see you next month. I can't get to the...
I'll bet it was Jim Best.
Could it be Jim? Yep. And we'll stop streaming.
Linda? No.